On November 26, 1977, viewers in southern England watching the evening news heard something that will baffle investigators for nearly a half-century. Their audio was suddenly replaced by a deep buzzing noise, followed by a distorted voice identifying itself as Verlon of the Ashtar Galactic Command, warning humanity to lay down its weapons or face destruction.
Stopping the execution of all captured prisoners of war, allowing Giro to take negotiations, being arrested. In Australia, Mr. Kerry Packer's cricketers are still pleased by yesterday's High Court decision, which lifts the ban on them playing in Test matches.
This is the voice of Allah, representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now, you send us as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth.
Investigators determined that someone had used specialist broadcast equipment to override the Hannington transmitter signal, a feat that would have required serious technical expertise and a precise line-of-sight location. The IBA confirmed that it was the first known hijacking of its kind. Hundreds of viewers called in alarmed, and the story spread worldwide. To this day, nobody has ever come forward, no suspect was ever identified, and whoever Verlon really was remains completely unknown. On February 11, 2013, viewers across Montana, Michigan, Wisconsin, and New Mexico had their afternoon television interrupted by an emergency alert system message, warning that the dead were rising from their graves and attacking the living.
Civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the messages on screen that will be updated as information becomes available. Do not attempt to approach or apprehend these bodies as they are considered extremely dangerous.
5 stations were hit in a single day, with hijackers exploiting default passwords left unchanged on publicly documented EAS equipment. Authorities would receive audio calls from as far away as Australia and India, and the Great Falls police fielded questions from people genuinely asking what to do if a zombie showed up on their lawn. No suspects have ever been identified. On the night of November 22, 1987, viewers of Chicago's WGN-TV watched their sports broadcast flicker out and get replaced for 17 seconds by a figure in a rubber max headroom mask, silently swaying in front of a spinning sheet of metal. 2 hours later, the same person hijacked PBS station WTTW mid-Doctor Who episode, this time with audio.
I'll get you a hot drink, miss.
Need some dry
Jesus.
He spent 90 seconds making bizarre, rambling comments before an accomplice in a French maid costume spanked him with a fly swatter, and then the signal cut out. Experts confirmed that the hijacker would have needed professional-grade microwave transmission equipment and a clear line of sight to both stations' broadcast towers in downtown Chicago. The FCC and FBI both investigated and came up empty, and the statute of limitations expired years ago without a single charge ever filed.
I declare giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds.
In the early hours of April 27, 1986, HBO's broadcast of The Falcon and the Snowman was replaced for 4.5 minutes by a color test pattern and a message reading, "Good evening, HBO, from Captain Midnight. $12.95 a month? No way." The man behind it was John McDougal, a Florida satellite dish dealer whose business had been devastated after HBO began scrambling its signal and charging monthly fees he considered unfair. He was eventually caught after a tourist overheard him bragging about it by payphone at a rest stop in Gainesville, Florida, and they turned him in. McDougal pleaded guilty, paid a $5,000 fine, and served a year of unsupervised probation. The incident directly led to Congress passing the Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986, making satellite hijacking a felony for the first time. In September 1985, 4 astronomers at Poland's University of Toruń built a device from a ZX Spectrum home computer, a synchronizing circuit, and a transmitter to superimpose dissident messages over in-state Polish-run TV broadcasts. The messages read, "Enough price increases, lies, and reparations. Solidarity Toruń," and "It is our duty to boycott the upcoming election," accompanied by the branded Solidarity logo. Poland at the time was under control of the grip of martial law, and state television was an instrument of the Communist Party's control. The men were caught after their second broadcast and were charged with possession of an unlicensed transmitter and publishing materials that could cause public unrest. On September 6, 1987, which was a Sunday, viewers watching the Playboy channel had their film interrupted by a text-only message, reading, "Thus saith the Lord thy God, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand." Investigators pinned the incident on Thomas Hayden, a satellite maintenance engineer who had worked for the Christian Broadcasting Network and was the only person on duty at CBN's control room that night. Hayden maintained its innocence throughout, and CBN argued that the evidence was entirely circumstantial. Their own engineers couldn't even recreate the hack using the station's equipment. Thomas was nevertheless convicted on 2 of 6 accounts, becoming the first person to ever be charged under the new federal satellite piracy law created after Captain Midnight. On the morning of May 2, 2007, young children in Lincroft, New Jersey tuned in to Playhouse Disney to watch Handy Manny, but instead of seeing that, their programming was replaced with hardcore pornography by a hijacked Comcast antenna head. Parents called in outraged. Comcast issued a statement saying they were investigating, and the story made headlines all across the country. No recording of the incident is known to exist, and Comcast never publicly announced any findings from their investigation. Sometime around 1995, a teenager in New York recorded an unsettling audio interruption on Columbia University's jazz radio station, WKCR 89.9. He then put the tape in a drawer and tried to forget about it for nearly 2 decades. When the recording resurfaced on 4chan in 2013, listeners heard classical music cut into a high-pitched screech, heavy breathing, and then a woman's voice rapidly reading names, dates of death, and surviving family members, with each entry ending with the toll of a bell.
Scott, Mark, and Lisa, Ann's friend, my friend. David, Bob, Karen, Cindy, and Mary. Husband, Lisa, father, Shady, Local, Rick, and Lucy, my brother-in-law. November 1988, John Burns. Son of John Sr. and Marilyn. Brother, Kathy and Chris. Step friend of Lisa and Billy. December 21st, 19...
You're tuned to WKCR FM New York, 89.9 on your dial. Colombian music is running a little late. It will be starting in a few minutes.
Many researchers noted that the DJ's voice when she returns after the interruption seems remarkably similar to the voice reading the names, raising the question of whether or not this really was a broadcast hijacking at all, or something a student at the radio station deliberately aired. On March 5, 2002, a small group of Falun Gong practitioners in the Chinese city of Shandong cut into the state television cable network and broadcast their own video across the city, an act of extraordinary defiance against a government that had banned the spiritual movement 3 years earlier and was actively imprisoning its members. Later that same year, the group escalated things further, jamming China's SINSAT-1 satellite for 8 days and interrupting 9 national CCTV channels, disrupting a planned speech by the Chinese president. The Chinese government responded with a massive crackdown, detaining an estimated 2,000 people in the aftermath of the cable hijacking. 15 participants were sentenced to prison terms of up to 20 years, and by 2010, several of those involved had reportedly died in police custody. During the 2006 war between Israel and Hezbollah, the Israeli Defense Force overrided the satellite transmission of Hezbollah's Al-Manar TV and replaced its programming with anti-Hezbollah propaganda. The broadcast showed Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah with crosshairs on his face, followed by 3 gunshots and a voice saying, "Your day is coming," along with footage of Israeli airstrikes destroying targets in southern Lebanon. Israel had already bombed Al-Manar's headquarters in an attempt to knock it off the air. The station survived the bombing, which is what led to the satellite intrusion. Unlike every other entry on this list, it was not a lone prankster, a disgruntled employee, or an underground movement. It was a nation-state using broadcast hijackings as a deliberate weapon of psychological warfare. It marked one of the first known instances of a government hacking an enemy's television station mid-conflict, and it changed how militaries around the world thought about media infrastructure as a target.